What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Daily Grind Fantasy official live stream for this NBA 5-game slate. Seems like it's 3 at this point because we have so many late-breaking injury news to break down for you guys. We are here bright and early for you so that we can get to all this late-breaking injury news and help give you guys an edge. I have with me TJ, as always, breaking down this NBA slate. TJ, I'm gonna throw this at you real quick. Do you want to go ahead and just break down yesterday's slate for everybody? We have actually 83 new subscribers to this channel just today, so that's absolutely insane. Just with the crossover of NFL, NBA, do you just want to go ahead and talk through what your success was last night?
Yeah, I would love to, Matt. Last night was a successful night for me, and I know we had some Patreon members that did very well as well. We talked about on stream that Raul Neto getting the start for Washington was a lock at 3,100. I also said that I really liked Bradley Beal at his price tag with Russell Westbrook also out. We talked about Kuzma, how AD got ruled out. So how Kuzma was a fantastic play at $5,700 last night. Went way lower owned than I anticipated, and even in a blowout ended up smashing value. We talked about guys like Steph Curry being fantastic value at 9,300. Matt, and we also talked about Ingram.
We did talk about Ingram
as our one of our favorite GPP plays. Ended up smashing. I know you said you liked guys like Giannis. So overall, I think it was a fantastic night, and I'm super excited to break down tonight as well.
Yeah, and usually we have the edge with some late-breaking injury news is during or after the slate locks, just like the 76ers last night with Embiid. Dwight Howard was a fantastic play on paper. He got in foul trouble, unfortunately, so I actually pivoted to Dwight Howard. Funny story for TJ, he wasn't able to. Luckily, he wasn't able to, but he was in a great spot. We also talked about Tobias Harris in the Discord once. Slate did lock 42 DK points, so huge leverage across the field. So nonetheless, let's go ahead and jump right into this NBA slate. We have a lot of late-breaking injury news, starting with the Nets. Let's talk about the Nets because in our video we talked about the hypothetical if Durant is not able to go, what's the slate going to look like. So let's go ahead and start there, TJ, if you wouldn't mind breaking it down.
Yeah, so obviously we were talking about Durant, whether or not he would be able to go tonight. Looks like he's sitting out due to rest. You know, we got the news that Dinwiddie is now out for the season with a torn ACL, which I feel so bad for him. He took a pay cut to come back, took a lesser role, obviously, to play alongside Kyrie and KD. Became the third option basically in the offense. I guess you could technically consider him the fourth behind LeVert as well. And, you know, this happens to him. So heavy heart for my guy Dinwiddie. But yeah, he's out. And then we get the news that Kyrie's also out. So Brooklyn has 3 of their starters out. It looks like we're currently seeing Tyler Johnson playing point, LeVert also getting thrown into the two spot starting, Joe Harris, Jeff Green potentially playing the 4, still unsure about that, and then DeAndre Johnson at the 5. So definitely some value there in Brooklyn, especially with their 2 studs and now Dinwiddie out tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much value. The one thing we have to talk about, TJ, and actually, let me pause the stream because we just got a donation, $5 donation from our man Sean. Always coming in with the donations. I had such a headache, man. Don't know who to play. I've watched a ton of videos tonight. Don't worry. This is the last video you're gonna have to watch. We're gonna break it all down for you. And we're gonna start with the Nets. Okay. One thing me and TJ were debating once before we got on stream here was where's the value going to be between Brooklyn, Houston, and Detroit. We're just gonna throw that out there. Let's start with Joe Harris. I think Joe Harris is the most obvious value play. Other than Karis LeVert, I consider value anybody less than $5,000. Just a personal preference. $4,600 for Joe Harris, 31.9% owned. I think he's the most obvious lock in terms of value on the slate, playing 33 minutes for all the reasons you just said, without Durant, without Kyrie Irving, and now Dinwiddie. Just nobody else to shoot the ball, man. We know Joe Harris is a volume shooter. For me, that's going to be my value lock. I think he's the most obvious play on the slate. Do you agree with that?
So I don't see Joe Harris carrying that much ownership just because we do have value in Detroit and Houston as well. But Matt, I'm definitely on board with you when it comes to Joe Harris. So I ran numbers last year with Kyrie and Dinwiddie off the court. And what I was looking for was specifically Joe Harris. I wanted to see Karis LeVert. I also wanted to see guys like Teron Prince, Tyler Johnson, and what have you. So with those 2 off the court, Karis LeVert got a 6.6% usage bump. Joe Harris got a 4.3% usage bump. Teron Prince got a 4.2% usage bump, and then Tyler Johnson was a neutral at 0. And where are you now? Karis LeVert. Okay, 1.37 fantasy points per minute for Karis LeVert. Joe Harris was a 0.99, so basically 1 fantasy point per minute. Teron Prince was where are you, Teron Prince? 0.85 fantasy point per minute, and then Tyler Johnson at 0.93. So when I'm looking at, this Brooklyn Nets pitcher now, if Joe Harris is going to play 33 minutes, I have him pegged for 31, Matt. So let's just we'll take the median and say 32. He's a 6.9 nice on our sheet. So if I'm getting a guy that averaged 1 fantasy point per minute with the likes of Kyrie and Spencer Dinwiddie off the court at 4,800, playing 32 minutes, sign me up.
Yeah.
I also really like LeVert. Obviously, he's going to be mega chalk tonight at 6,500, playing those starter minutes at 33% and probably going to garner anywhere from 35 to 40% usage rate. If he can eclipse that 1.35 fantasy point per minute, easily smashes value. And then you and I got into the discussion about Teron Prince. I understand Jeff Green came over. So definitely going to eat at his minutes. But at 3,100, if he is going to play 24 minutes, even if he's coming off the bench, I still do like him. And I think he's a viable last option for cash. But for me, Karis LeVert, Joe Harris are going to be locks. And then, like I said, I think you can find some value here. Even a guy like TLC getting minutes off the bench. Tyler Johnson, if he does start at 3,100, these guys are just really cheap. Some of them more tournament plays than cash plays, but that's kind of where my thoughts are when it comes to Brooklyn.
Completely agree with you. High over under, tons of value. They're all so incredibly cheap. The only thing that really scares me about the Brooklyn Nets, and again, we went back and forth about this, is the fact that Taurean Prince is still only projected 23 minutes. When you are getting a $3,100 guy, I would love to see more minutes out of that just for a guaranteed value. Again, he averages 0.85 fantasy points per minute, which I absolutely love in the pace-up spot versus Memphis. All the signs point to him being good chalk, but again, right now, TJ, his ownership is now at 42%, which is kind of scary. If you're going to be playing a tournament play, I personally love pivots on Houston just because of the minutes. The minutes are going to be there for Houston. They're playing upward of 30 to 35 minutes, each one of those value guys, which we'll get to a little bit later. I think those guys are great, fantastic, sharp pivots off of somebody like Taurean Prince. I like Taurean Prince. I probably will end up playing him in cash. But again, for bigger GPPs, it's just very, very scary. I can easily see him to only getting to about 15 to 18 points. We want guys to smash value in tournaments. I don't see it happening, and especially at 42%, it's actually terrifying for me. I still like Taurean Prince, just don't like him in really big GPPs. I really don't. I like Houston just because of the minutes. Higher upside there in Houston. And that's my contrarian take today. I'm not on board of some of these value plays as much as I am on Houston. Okay. And I know you disagree with me there for some of these plays. And another thing I want to add is some of these other, these superstars, we don't necessarily have to get down to Taurean Prince with all the value here on the slate. Again, James Harden is the only really expensive superstar, but other than that, it's like Trae Young, LeBron James, if you even want to pay for LeBron James at this point. I really don't like LeBron James, especially if he's actually going to play. They're going to probably limit him. Yeah, AD. I mean, those guys aren't necessary tonight. I think the only necessary superstar to pay up for is going to be James Harden tonight.
Okay.
That's just my personal take. But anyway.
No, I agree with you there. And I was going to cut you off. I still think LeBron's going to sit, especially with the news that AD's playing. I don't know why, but I think he's gonna be a healthy scratch. I think he's going to sit tonight. Don't take my word for it, guys. Obviously, we don't have any news on him. He re-aggravated that ankle again last night. He's done it in his last 2 games. Playing against Portland, so definitely could be a competitive matchup. So maybe he does go because he didn't play a lot yesterday, especially in that second half. But for some reason, I just kind of feel like he sits tonight. But that's just me.
And again, if you want to use that strategy, late night pivots, it didn't work out for me last night, but it usually works. I promise it does. I actually missed my big GPP line by 2 points. It was very aggravating. And it was all because of Dwight Howard. So I hate Dwight Howard right now. So Brooklyn, do you want to keep talking about them? Do we like anybody else? Do we like Jared Allen? Do we like Shamet, dare I say? Do we like any one of those guys?
I hate Shamet personally, even at 3,500. Yeah. I just don't really like him. He can hit threes, but I just feel like his usage is so low. Just not really somebody I kind of want to mess around with. But at 3,500, yeah, man, I'm gonna take chances on all these guys in tournaments just because KD and Kyrie are out. So for me right now, Karis LeVert, definitely a lock in cash. Joe Harris is going to be a lock for me too at 4,600. And then after that, I do like Taurean Prince at 3,100 as a very good cash viable option. Yeah. But right now, I'm only going to lock in LeVert and Harris. When it comes to DJ and Jared Allen, they're not really affected by Kyrie and KD. Maybe a couple more rebounds, but that doesn't really move me in any type of direction because of the news with KD, Kyrie, and Dinwiddie.
Right.
It's more those guards in that backcourt. Chioza, I'd be interested to see if he gets some minutes tonight. But besides that's kind of my thought process is LeVert and Joe Harris, and then Taurean Prince, and then take chances on guys like Tyler Johnson, TLC, Jeff Green, Shamit in tournaments.
Let's bring it all together now. Our cash locks are definitely going to be LeVert, Prince, and Joe Harris. You agree with that? Cash.
LeVert and Joe Harris, yes.
Okay.
Taurean Prince, I'm still on the edge, but I like him as a very good cash option.
Got it. So we just got a question again, Sean, with the $5 donation. Appreciate it, man. Are you guys talking about tournament plays or cash options right now on Brooklyn?
A little both, but mostly cash.
Yep, mostly cash. LeVert and Joe Harris are going to be my first cash locks of the evening. All right, so let's go ahead. I know you hate this, but I want to go ahead and get to the obvious plays first. Now? I'm going to Houston. James Harden obviously has been watching his weight on the dieting program here. Doing pretty well, I'd say. 11.2K. Let's just reiterate this, TJ. We're used to seeing James Harden again in the Russell Westbrook era, and also with playing alongside CP3. When both of those guys were out, we're used to seeing him closer to $13,000 to $14,000. I got this question in Discord: is James Harden a cash-worthy option? I'm just going to give it right to you. What are your thoughts here, James Harden?
Yes, lock James Harden in cash and just don't even look back. I don't care that their team total is 108. I don't care that they're on the road 7-point dogs. Love James Harden, what I saw, especially in opening night. I mean, just the usage monster that we're so used to seeing. He only had a 36% usage rate against Portland. We're used to seeing that around like 40 to 45%, especially last year with Westbrook being out. But, 79 fantasy points or DraftKings points, and didn't even have a triple-double because he only had 4 boards. So, 1.82 fantasy point per minute. Yeah, he only shot 22 times, which we were surprised at because the addition of Christian Wood, I think, was huge for him, who also looked fantastic. So, yeah, him and Christian Wood, both 22 shots. I really like James Harden in cash, and I also definitely like Christian Wood in cash. I'm locking both of them in as well with LeVert and Joe Harris as of now. I'm not going to second guess it. I'm not going to think about it too much. Not going to overthink it, and I'm going with Harden and going with Christian Wood for cash.
His usage rate was closer to 40% last season. Is that correct? You have the stats in front of you?
Just in terms of like the entire season, or like with Westbrook off the court?
Not Westbrook, with CP3.
Just in general?
Sorry, Westbrook off the court, yes.
With Westbrook off the court, I believe it was 41%. I don't have that in front of me, but I can figure that out right now. I thought I had it down, but I don't.
Yeah.
I believe it was 41%.
I'll believe you. 41%, guys. You won't see a usage rate that high. You will not, unless it's Giannis, okay? But other than that, guys, James Harden is the highest usage player in the NBA without any studs playing. You have to lock in
43.6%.
Yeah, and to put things in perspective, TJ, at 39.4%, which is actually pretty high in tournaments, he is showing a decent leverage play on our leverage sheet, okay, at 39.4%. That's how good of a play he is tonight, okay? So he's still under-owned. Christian Wood, 7.2K at 42.7%. Do you feel the same as locking in James? Okay, why is that?
Yep. Just love what I saw from him. 22 shots against Portland. The usage was there. He had the second most usage on the team at 26%. The opportunities are definitely going to be there. I'm not second guessing it on James Harden or Christian Wood. I mean, we loved him when he came over from Detroit. Thought he was going to be a huge asset in Houston. We got no DeMarcus Cousins. I mean, need I say more? He was $5,900 against Portland, got a $1,300 price increase. Doesn't bother me. The minutes are going to be there, and he's going to be, James Harden's sidekick in this game. So I love both of them for cash. Locking both of them in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's these two guys and then everybody else. I personally don't like anyone. I don't like to select any one of these guys as a lock, but I do like the value here. One of these guys is going to have a ceiling game. Mark my words, he should make it into the optimal, okay? It's either going to be Daniel House, PJ Tucker, Tate, Sterling Brown. I'm not kidding. It's going to be one of those guys. It's just a matter of picking the right one. Personally, if you're playing small tournaments, I'm okay with stacking the Houston Rockets tonight. I'm also okay with stacking the Brooklyn Nets, and same thing with Detroit, okay? Maybe one of each in every single tournament. Maybe if you're playing a 3-max, I like all those teams as a solid core, to be honest. It's just a matter of which team's going to actually score a lot of points. I love all of these guys for GPPs. We're showing Nwaba at 6.1%, Daniel House at 3.8%, PJ Tucker at 2.5%, and Tate at 1.5%. Are you kidding me? For guys that are guaranteed 35, 30 minutes, 33, and 27 minutes. Are you kidding me? Bottom of the barrel price tags, TJ. Do you like any one of these guys specifically?
I do, and I was a lot higher on him opening night than I am now. Just because after watching that Houston game, it's the same thing. It's James Harden dribbling the ball, and even Christian Wood now, garnering that usage, and then it's the other guys. Just if they can knock down their shots, like yes, they can easily pay off their value. But like I was super high on a guy like Daniel House that literally just stood in the corner for the duration of the game against Portland. So if I am taking any of these guys, I do like what I saw out of David Nwaba. In 27 minutes of play, he was aggressive. He wasn't afraid to shoot. He had a couple blocks too. The usage rate was down, obviously, and that's what you're going to see when you're playing alongside James Harden. So I do like the value map, but again, where we disagreed was I'm higher on like that Brooklyn and Detroit value than I am on this Houston value. I'm really high on James Harden and Christian Wood, obviously. I agree with you that one of these guys will most likely be in the optimal between House, Tucker, Tate, and Nwaba.
Just good luck.
So I'll definitely have tournament shares for all those guys. But in terms of cash, I'm taking James Harden, I'm taking Christian Wood, and then I'll most likely be on my way.
I'm not as high on Sterling Brown just because he's projected at 22 minutes right now, which is really low for 3,900. Again, minutes produce DraftKings points, okay? The longer you're on the court, even if your name is PJ Tucker, you're bound to do something, okay? At some point in the game, even if it's just sitting in the corner, okay? But yeah. Houston Rockets, a great team to target for GPPs. He's very great at that. He's actually the best in the NBA at sitting in the corner. So let's go ahead and move on to Detroit, our last team we should target. Oh, I almost missed your other donation, Sean. Yet another $5 donation, man. Really appreciate it.
Sean, you don't need to keep donating, man.
Yeah, just put your questions in there, man. I'm feeling greedy. Yeah, save your $5, absolutely. Unless you want to sign up for Patreon. Can you give me a lock? I'm doing a $5,000 person tournament for a $200,000 prize on FanDuel. Who should I lock in? Harden, right? Harden is our lock. I think Harden is I think he's the best lock, and I think he's the most obvious play. I don't know if you agree with that, TJ. That or LeVert?
I'd say LeVert, yeah. But I don't
that
think
big of a tournament. Again, I would prefer somebody like Harden over LeVert in terms of a lock. Okay.
Right. Gotcha.
For Detroit though, let's switch gears to Detroit. Not as high as I am on Houston and Brooklyn. I do like them better than Detroit just because of the pace of the game. TJ, 106.5 they're predicted at right now, which is still high for Detroit, believe it or not. Against Atlanta, Delon Wright though at $4,600, he's projected right now at 31 minutes, 39% ownership. Mason Plumlee, I know you like $5,700. Josh Jackson, I can keep going down the list here. All these price tags are very intriguing, and they're starting to become more GPP options just because of these other plays from the Brooklyn and Houston game. What are your thoughts on this team now as opposed to the video when we recorded this morning?
Yeah, so the more I thought about it, obviously with Blake and with Derrick Rose being out, also we just got news that Ja Okafor is officially out as well. I want to see what the starting lineup looks like for Detroit. We have Atlanta and Memphis's starting lineups, just haven't gotten Detroit's yet or Brooklyn's, and those are the two 7:30 games. So
is Demboye still playing?
He is currently questionable, and they actually just tweeted that he's still a game time decision. So Demboye is definitely somebody to keep. Yeah, so if he starts at the 4, I do like him at 3,400. So Killian Hayes is the guy that interests me, especially with Derrick Rose being out. I thought we would see more minutes from him, but he's averaging 20 through his first 2 games, 21% usage rate. Also, he just hasn't really played well. But I think with Derrick Rose being out, not breathing down his throat at 4,200, if he is going to see 27 to 30 minutes, I do like him as a last piece cash option at point guard. Obviously Mason Plumlee is somebody that we've attacked throughout the first 2 games. Opened up at 3,700 against Minnesota.
I got him at that price tag.
Got the bump to Cleveland at 4,800, and now he's up to 5,700 against Atlanta. It is an interesting matchup. We haven't seen Clint Capella play, and I don't even know how long it's been. Obviously, this is going to be his first game that we've seen him play in an Atlanta Hawks uniform. So maybe this is a matchup that Plumlee can exploit, just because it's been a little bit since Capella has played. Maybe a little rust. Maybe not in game shape yet. I mean, obviously going to be on a minute restriction, but I don't hate Mason Plumlee at 5,700. You talked about DeLon Wright. You talked about, I don't even know if you mentioned Josh Jackson. 2 guys that I do also really like. If I'm choosing between one, I do like DeLon Wright because those 32 minutes is what I'm definitely eyeing. He played 42 minutes against Cleveland. I know it went into overtime, but looked fantastic. So yeah, I got to the line 9 times, which is what we like to see. Free throws are awesome when it comes to DraftKings. If you can get to the line 10 plus times, that's just free points unless you're Giannis. So yeah, I do like this Detroit. I like this Detroit value. I'm really looking at Killian Hayes at 4,200. And I think my next favorite piece would be DeLon Wright at 4,600. Then I'd go Plumlee at 57, Josh Jackson at 42. And again, if Demboya is good to go and does start at the 4, definitely somebody you want to keep an eye on at 3,400 as well. And I didn't even mention Jeremy Grant.
I was about to say.
I mean, what a wagon he was against Cleveland. Are you kidding me? 10 times value, double, just 28 points. So just looked absolutely fantastic. 28 real raw points. So 52 DraftKings points, only 18% ownership. I feel like a lot of people are going to go off him. I honestly think that might be his ceiling game for the year, unfortunately.
Well,
so you might have missed it. But yeah, I think there's definitely some value here in Detroit. I think Killian Hayes and DeLon Wright are the two guys that I'm looking at and have the most interest in.
Here's the thing with Jeremy Grant. He's played with Denver his entire career, right? So he's played with a bunch of studs. He hasn't played on a horrible team like this. So who knows? Jeremy Grant might actually be good. Nobody knows at this point. Jeremy Grant at 15.4%.
He was OKC as well, yeah. So he had to play with Westbrook, so that's terrible.
Exactly. So at 15.4% ownership, he's a very, very good GPP option. I think he's just GPP, though. 5.9K is a little too pricey for me. If I'm looking for value on this team, everybody that you just talked about, I'm not going to repeat anything that you just said. Demboya, though, definitely intrigued in him as well at $3,400 at 11.3%. So I definitely like him as well. Of course, if he does play, if he's ruled out, I have to look back at this team because there's going to be so many minutes being sucked up by this entire roster. So we will keep an eye on that as we go on throughout this live stream. But TJ, all of the obvious cash options are now gone. I think there's a couple other ones that we have to talk about, like SGA. I think he went up in ownership just because of the amount of salary. Oh, never mind. He's back down. Oh, wait. I'm looking at the wrong team. Okay,
I see him at 25%.
25%. And Jokic, another high guy to pay up for, $9,800. Where are you going elsewhere on the slate? Are there any other options you're looking at in terms of cash?
So I think it's going to be tough in terms of cash to go James Harden, Christian Wood, LeVert, and then fit a guy like Jokic. I haven't tried to do it yet. I don't know if it's possible to have a lineup in which I feel confident entering cash lineups in. I think you can go James Harden, Christian Wood, LeVert, and SGA. I just don't know if you need it. But I do like Jokic in this matchup, and I definitely like SGA as well. SGA opening night had a 35.4% usage rate, which is just unbelievable. Obviously, no CP3, no Gallinari. It's basically just him. And obviously, a lot of guys look good for them. Lou Dort, Baisley, two guys I was very impressed with. And even George Hill, starting at the 2, looked very good in only 24 minutes of play. So yeah, I definitely have some interest in SGA. For me, he's more of a tournament play for now. Like I said, I think I can fill out my roster and be a little bit more confident with some of these other guys. But yeah, if you're landing on SGA or Jokic and you can construct your lineups to where they're kind of a last piece because you have so much value in Detroit, you have so much value in Brooklyn, definitely two guys I would look to land on. So I really like both of them as options. I think SGA is a little more realistic than it is with Jokic, given the salaries of the guys that we really want to squeeze in Harden, LeVert, and Christian Wood.
Generous again, Sean. Again, appreciate the $5 donation, but we have to read your lineup here. Real quick, it's going to be Morant, Conley, Harden, Dillon Brooks, Jeremy Grant, Josh Jackson, Baisley. We haven't even talked about Baisley, and Christian Wood. Oh, sorry, Christian Wood and Plumlee. Did you hear all that, TJ?
Yep, I'm looking at it right now.
Okay.
He's got some low guys in there like Conley and Dillon Brooks. I like Dillon Brooks' upside. I think people in the chat were saying he's 3,700 on FanDuel. I think that's way too cheap. John Morant in a pretty good spot. I like him as a tournament play. We talked about Grant. We talked about Josh Jackson and the opportunity with Griffin and Rose being out. Baisley, I just mentioned for OKC, how impressed I was with him opening night. Christian Wood, obviously a viable option with those injuries or the COVID news in Houston. And then we talked about Plumlee as well. So Sean, I do like that lineup. I think you have some guys that are going to carry some ownership with some low owned guys that have a very good potential to pop. So I think you're on the right track for sure.
Yeah, I also want to reiterate how much I like Trae Young and GPP's tonight. Not to give away too much Patreon content, but at 23.1%, he makes your builds very contrarian just by putting him in there straight up. So I really do like him as a pivot. I think that's your option between him and Morant. If I'm going to be picking one of the two, it's going to be Trae Young. I just really like him in this spot tonight.
Okay.
All right, so any more cash
Well, that's
options? No, seriously though. I think the straight's very straightforward, guys. So again, if you're playing anybody else but the Detroit Pistons, Brooklyn Nets, Houston Rockets, and cash, you're doing it wrong. Seriously, all the value is there in those games. You can select guys from just those 3 teams and be on your way. For cash, for GPPs, it's everybody else, literally. TJ, do you want to go ahead and talk about GPPs? What do you want to do?
Yeah, I just wanted to touch base on, just the Lakers. Just be wary of that LeBron situation. If he does get ruled out, AD is definitely somebody you're going to want to get in your lineups at 10K. It is going to be tough trying to figure out who you want to get off of. So the one thing that I want to focus on is making sure that you're constructing your lineups properly, putting your guys that are starting early in your top 5 positions between point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center.
Great point.
And then making sure that you have those bottom 3 where you have just a guard, a forward, and a util. So if you're playing Houston guys, make sure you're putting them there so that if we do get news that LeBron is out, it makes it a lot easier to pivot and you have a lot more flexibility. So when we are waiting on late news like this, just make sure you're constructing your lineups as neatly as possible so that if guys do get ruled out, like Embiid last night, obviously Dwight Howard didn't pan out, but if you had it set up properly, you would have had way more wiggle room to kind of edit your lineup. So that's something I just want to be keen on.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And again, NBA is all about attention to detail and late swaps. That's how you win. And thank God that FanDuel actually went that route, because they didn't used to be like that. So FanDuel, you're able to late swap as well. So all you FanDuel watchers in here, make sure you're putting all those early games and your top slots. Save the bottom, your utils, your guards, and forwards for late minute swaps or last minute swaps. All right. Do you want to just go ahead and answer questions? I know we're kind of breezing through the slate, but
yeah, why don't we? I do want to touch base on some other teams. Like we didn't touch base on Utah, and I'd like to just talk about Rudy Gobert. And what we've seen from him over these first 2 games. I think he's still vastly underpriced at 7,400. I think he has a really good matchup against Al Horford down low. Opened up at 6,800 against Portland, and we talked about how cheap that was. Way too cheap, especially at the production that we've seen from him in the past. Only played 28 and 29 minutes in his first couple games, but the production that he has, just all of his buckets are right underneath the rim. So the rebounds are obviously going to be there. He's got 17 rebounds in his first 2 games. We talked about the price increase that he got.
And he hasn't played that many minutes too.
Right. He only played 28 and 29. And then going up against Minnesota, we talked about the success that he's always had against Cat. Again, smashed his value at 7,400. Now he's at 7,400 again in a matchup that I like against Al Horford. So I really like Rudy Gobert as a pretty good tournament play. He's showing 19% owns. Okay, so 14, 19. So we'll call it 17%. So I really like him as a good tournament play. Donovan Mitchell's really cheap at 7,600. So I definitely somebody that I would like in tournaments as well. So that's kind of it. Royce O'Neal always is somebody that I keep an eye on just because his price is always so low and he does get a ton of minutes. But I just wanted to touch base on Rudy Gobert. I think he's still too cheap at 7,400. And I think there's some good tournament plays in Utah. And
also in Portland, I mean, just because of their ownership, everybody's low owned. We have superstars with Damian Lillard at 10.3K. Nobody's going to be touching him. 7.1%. We know whenever he plays, it's always the sky's the limit with Damian Lillard. Apparently with CJ McCollum, same thing, 66 points the other night. You kidding me?
Walking bucket.
Yeah, 8.1K. So all these guys are just GPP options at 2.1%. Feel free to take a stab at either one of those guys. But yeah, I would stay within the route for cash. Those 3 teams that we talked about earlier in the live stream. All right. I just feel like we should be talking more, but apparently not. So let's go ahead and
what else is there to say?
There's really not much more to say. Yeah. So let's go ahead and switch gears to questions, guys. Feel free to spam the chat with your questions. We will make sure to get to all your questions since we have plenty of time, and hopefully we get some more injury news here, specifically with Demboye. All right. So do you want to start at the top, TJ? I'm going to go to the Discord chat.
Yeah, let's do it. Bo Elite said, told you Levine would kill it yesterday. Yeah, we talked about Levine. That was a great call, Bo. SK, Gordon Hayward also did amazing yesterday at less than 10% owned. Yep, another guy that we talked about. Loved Gordon Hayward last night. Grant saying Shamit equals bad play. I can always agree when somebody says Shamit is going to be bad chalk. Right below, Sean says Shamit seems like a good play. Shamet's just fantasy point per minute is not
So
very
bad.
good. Historically hasn't been when he was on the Clippers, and even now. Can he have a good game? Sure, especially given the opportunity for Brooklyn, but I just really don't like him. Paradox mentioned Chioza. Yeah, we're unsure to see if Chioza is actually going to get any minutes. It looks like Tyler Johnson should start at point guard. If Chioza starts at point guard, I would just shift my shares from Tyler Johnson to Chioza.
Hayes or
But,
Wright for
yep.
cash tonight. I like both, but I like Wright more. I think Delon Wright should be a cash lock. What's up? You like
No,
Hayes?
I'm just thinking.
Oh.
Kind of, just because there's no Derrick Rose breathing down his throat tonight, man.
Gallinari just got ruled out.
Okay, so Gallinari is out. All right. Well, Gallinari was deemed to come off the bench, obviously, with Capella being back and John Collins playing the 4.
Still 25
I think that
minutes.
gives a bump. Yeah, I think that gives a bump to a guy like John Collins. So I definitely think he is a fantastic tournament play at 7,600. Projected at 30 minutes now. Might see like 32 to 34 now with Gallinari being out. I think that also gives a bump to a guy like DeAndre Hunter potentially seeing some more minutes. Yeah, it doesn't really change up too much. Maybe like Solomon Hill might grab some minutes now, but yeah, doesn't really do too much for me. But John Collins, I think, is a good tournament play, especially at 6%. And now with Gallinari being out, they're going to need him at the 4.
Somebody I did not mention, but I do like is Bogdanovic at 8.2%, 4.7K. I think is a little too undervalued. I think you agree with that, TJ. It's his fantasy point per minute is about 0.9. At least it was with the Sacramento Kings. So I still like his production. 4.7. We know he can get it done.
Yeah, Bogdanovic almost won me a trip to a DraftKings live event in New Jersey. So I will always love him, except for when he fell short in the fourth quarter. Missed the 3 with 2 minutes left to push me into the into first, and he bricked it. So whatever. Don't want to talk about it anymore. Grant says LeVert, Harris, and Prince. I'm assuming that is his order in nets, and I agree with him. Brooks is 3,700 on FanDuel. Yeah, that's really cheap. Horford or Bazley. I liked Horford opening night. Bazley looked really good. I think a lot of people, I just want to see the ownership. I think people are going to be on. Okay, so I'm seeing 8.6% for Horford, Matt, and then 4.8% for Bazley. I'm interested to see what Fantasy Cruncher has. Do you have the OKC ownership up in front of you? And if you don't, do you mind just popping it up real quick?
Bazley's at 7.6. Horford's at 12.3.
Okay, so people are going back to Horford. Tough matchup against Gobert. I'm going to say Horford. I'm going to say Horford bounces back from his putrid opening night in an OKC.
Got a quick question here. Can you stack in GPPs? That's a very basic question. Yes, but you should not stack more than 3 players from a game. Usually not more than 3 players make it to the optimal. So if you're going to stack no more than 3, and again, you're banking on an overtime win for anybody for you to stack. That's the only way that they hit value. So again, with so much value, I still love stacking. I just don't like more than 3 players from one team. That's it.
Okay. Where was I? I scrolled down, man. I guess I'm pronouncing Nwaba's name wrong. Nwaba. I guess I'm saying Nwaba. So yeah, I'm pronouncing it wrong. I don't care. He's good value tonight. If LeBron sits, do we love Horton Tucker over Prince? Yes, I do. TJ is my best friend. Hey, Bobby, what's going on? Shaman hasn't been good lately. Correct. Do you like LeVert and Harris for GPP as well? I like Harris more in tournaments. I think if you want to get different on the field, LeVert is going to be very high owned in tournaments. So if you want to try and get different, I would fade him. But I really like him tonight. So I find it difficult to do so. But again, in tournaments, that's the chance you need to take to take down.
Guys. Listen,
70% owned for LeVert. Matt's going to go on a rant now about tournaments. So go ahead, Matt, take it away.
Okay, so LeVert, if he just does, just hits value, he doesn't even have to smash it. If he just hits value, any other combination, imagine that outscores a combination with LeVert is going to win you a GPP. Okay, play LeVert in cash. A very sharp play is fading LeVert and very big GPPs. You're going to win $1 million if you do so. Okay, and if he happens to get injured, I'm not saying that he will. I'm not hoping that he does. But again, it's a great way to get contrarian. If he's showing at 70% ownership, that is way too inflated for any single NBA player. I would hate Harden if he was that high owned. I really do not like that high of ownership in GPPs. For cash, play LeVert, fade him. It's a sharp fade for GPPs. Okay, if you want to take down the tournament, that's how you do it. Go ahead.
PP I like cheese guy boom asked, should I stack Houston or Detroit? I think you take, in terms of cash, I think you take Harden and Wood, and then I think you get that. I personally think you get the value out of Detroit. Matt?
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening. I was multitasking.
You were multitasking.
Yep.
Nope, doesn't matter. I wish that Detroit should have kept Wood. Yes and no, they definitely should have.
And LeVert's ownership did go down, so I like him a little bit more. 62.1%. He was at 70. I hated him at 70%.
Somebody just asked about TLC, and I had everything up from last year. I do like TLC as a potential tournament play. 0.79 fantasy points per minute last year with Kyrie and Dinwiddie off the court. So I definitely think the minutes scare me, obviously, but if he can get hot, he is definitely a guy that is not afraid to take shots. So yeah, I definitely like him as a tournament play. Sorry, we're getting a bunch of updates, but these are guys that don't really matter.
Yep.
DeLon Wright or Joe Ingles or Kevin Huerter. DeLon Wright. What's the best Brooklyn play at 3,100? I say Taurean Prince.
Prince is a good play at $3,100. Yep. The best one, I'd say. Yeah.
John Morant and Harris and Cash and Jokic and Tyler Johnson and GPP, right? I think Harris and Cash. Yeah, I don't think John Morant's going to carry ownership, but he is in a pretty good spot. But Jokic and Tyler Johnson tournaments for sure. I would wait and see if Tyler Johnson is going to start at point. Trae Young pivot and GPP. Yes, definitely.
Getting a ton of questions.
Young,
Love it, guys.
Yeah, we have so many questions. I'm trying to go through it all. Harden scores 40 plus tonight. Sure. Trae Young with Harden and GPPs. Yes, I love that. Killian Hayes or Wright and Cash. I said Hayes. I think Matt likes DeLon Wright. I think both are definitely viable.
Definitely.
Cash Core, we'll cover that at the end. Thoughts on Dylan Brooks? Yeah, we talked about Dylan Brooks. Definitely a good spot for him. Yeah, I think he's a really good GPP play. And honestly, if you're landing on him as the last piece in cash, I don't hate it at 5,500. And I know on FanDuel 3,700, that's really cheap. DeLon Wright time, yes, agree with you, Sano. Baisley or Horford, we touch base on. Michael Porter Jr., GPP, good matchup. Definitely agree on that. I like him at his price. I personally like him at his price tag.
What's his minutes looking like?
30.
30, okay. I like that then.
I mean, he only played 24 against the Clippers.
I just hate
Mike
his
Malone
minutes,
is still on something. So
yeah,
he's one of those guys where if he makes mistakes, Mike Malone is quick to pull the cord on him. So but he's definitely a guy that can come out hot, and when he's playing well, he's playing well. Harden or Lillard for cash? Harden. Any small forwards for 5K in average? I don't know if
maybe
I know what
below?
That means.
Is that what he means?
I'm thinking he wants a 5K forward. I guess I'd say Daniel House, or I'd go PJ Tucker. Unless you want to count Joe Harris at 4,600.
I actually like Daniel House. Yeah, $4,800.
Okay. Joe Harris is a good GPP option or just cash. No, I think Joe Harris is tournament viable as well. I have a good one. Demboya or Prince if Demboya is in. I think I'd go Demboya, especially if he's starting.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Demboya or Taurean Prince.
Demboya. Because of minutes.
Yeah, I think I'd go Demboya if he is starting.
There's always that rebounding upside too. I mean, you gotta love that from a starting power forward / center.
Right. Karis LeVert is bound to go off without Kyrie and KD. Yeah, that's the logical thinking, Matt. That's what we're all assuming. Gallinari is out. Thank you guys. Jokic worth it for cash. Again, I talked about SGA and Jokic as like a last piece option in cash. Matt, I think you can agree with that.
Yeah.
You got to get your value in Detroit and Brooklyn. I think you got to spend up for Harden and Christian Wood, tagged along with LeVert from Brooklyn. So if you have that salary.
Let's actually cover this real quick, TJ. So from a strategy perspective, you're going to have to pay up for some studs. James Harden's the obvious one, right? Jokic is another one, but do you want to save some salary? You actually want to save some salary just in case LeBron James gets ruled out and you want to be able to pivot to somebody like AD, okay? That would be the other stud that I would target. Leave some room, like we said, a little bit later on in the night if you want to be able to pivot for AD.
Guys, if anybody has any news on LeBron, just throw it in the chat. I haven't seen anything. Obviously, he's been gimpy on that ankle. I just feel like AD sat last night. LeBron went. I feel like LeBron sits on this back-to-back.
So no, I'm telling you right now, the Rockets are the move. I'm telling you, Tate is a great play. I'm telling you, mark my words.
What else do we have? I'm trying to think of where I left off because I scrolled down. There are so many questions. I love you guys.
It's amazing.
Thank
you guys for your support. It's very, very humbling. To sit here and dream about 200 viewers is just absolutely insane to me. It's great, guys. You guys are great.
You know, I'm just going to say one thing. 182 of you watching, only 18 likes.
Whoa, that I'm not dreaming
Tyler
about.
Johnson. Nope, move past it. Tyler Johnson for cash. I don't really think so. I wouldn't mind him, I guess, as the last piece, but I don't necessarily think you need him for cash. I'd rather go Prince at 3,100, honestly.
Yeah.
Out of 20, how many times you fading Harden in tournaments?
Good question. Like I said, I do like Harden overall. I'm probably going to be overweight in the field right now. Let's see what his updated ownership is actually at. James Harden at
55%,
almost at 40, so he's actually at 39.
Okay.
I think that's a little bit low. I think it's going to be higher, but I will be overweight on James Harden. I just think, based on our leverage sheet, based on our projections, him having a 41% usage rate is just unbelievable. He should be closer to 70% owned, to be honest. I'm going to be overweight on him. Probably, if about those 20 laps, I'd probably have him in about 14.
Matt, Roto has him at 56%. I think that's a little more accurate.
That is accurate, yep.
But yeah, I think, I like that answer you gave. John Morant, Harden, GPP, or cash only? I think you can go both directions with Harden, but I would definitely want to have him in cash.
Depends on the size of the GPP and where you're getting contrarian.
Correct. Thoughts on Kevin Huerter? I don't necessarily think you need him for cash, obviously, but at 5K, he got a big price reduction after playing Memphis when he was 5,800. Definitely a guy that can knock down some threes. We know that, the red flamethrower. So yeah, he's taken 10 plus shots in his first 2 games. Good matchup against Detroit. And if it blows out, I could definitely see him getting some run in the fourth. So I don't hate him as a tournament play. Hunter or Grant for power forward. I would go Grant. Core 4 of Harden, LeVert, Wood, and Josh Jackson. I think you're really close with there. Obviously,
is playing tonight. Somebody just came in real quick with that. Is that
Demboya
official?
Is playing.
Can we get that confirmation?
If he's playing tonight, then that's fantastic. I want to know if he's starting. Yeah, it says he will play. Okay.
Yep. Awesome. Thanks for the updates, guys.
Demboya will play. All right, perfect.
I like Demboya. I like him as a GPP if he's staying that low in ownership.
I do too. I keep losing where I'm at. Okay, here I am. Hunter, the core 4, even Bogdan coming off the bench. Yeah, Bogdan's always a good play at 4,700. Collins or Gobert? That is so hard. That's what she said. I would go
Gobert. I don't know how Capella's going to affect Collins tonight.
I just think he's limited though. So
still,
that's
man.
really I like both of them a lot tonight.
I do like Gobert a little bit more. I will say that.
I'm gonna let you answer that. I'm not gonna give my opinion.
Real quick, I'm gonna answer some Discord questions. Hayes or Tate for cash and util? Hayes or Tate? Ooh, Hayes. Yep. Tate, I love that as well. Tate or THT if LeBron is ruled out? Well, that's a great question. If LeBron is ruled out, I do like THT. That's Horton, right? That's who we're talking about.
Yeah, Horton Tucker. Yep.
Yeah, if he's actually getting minutes, I do like him a lot.
Yeah,
I do like him.
Yep.
Is Jeff Green solid tonight? His minutes are a little low. Strictly GPP. I think TJ likes him. I think you do like him.
I like him more as a tournament play now. Yeah, his minutes got updated. So yeah, I think more of a tournament play for me.
Don't compare I don't hate him to Shamet, please, Grant. Now that's not a good comparison. Yeah, he did.
Boy, it sucks like Shaman. Okay, you're trash, Grant. That good for Discord, Matt?
Yeah, it's good. Yep.
Okay. What about Daniel House compared to the other Rockets? We touched base on that already. Daniel House definitely more of a tournament play. But one of those guys is gonna go off between one of those value guys. Christian Wood or Val for cash? Definitely Christian Wood. House or PJ Tucker, Matt?
I wish I knew.
I think PJ Tucker's.
I would say House.
Okay, I think PJ Tucker's safer. I think Daniel House has more of a ceiling.
I like that. Yep.
Jokic, Bogdy, and Josh Jackson, or Gobert, Baisley, Grant. I like Gobert, Baisley, Grant. So should I play LeVert in my tournament with 5,000? Okay, Sean, we touched base on that. Yes, definitely like LeVert. Any concern with Trae Young? Doesn't hit value with the Detroit lineup. The only thing I'd be afraid of, honestly, is a blowout. But if Trae gets his minutes, then yeah, he definitely hits value.
I love Trae Young just because he's so contrarian tonight. Builds everything. I mean, again, you're locking him in pretty early as stud. People are waiting for that AD news, and if LeBron is playing, it's gonna ruin all your nights when Trae Young goes off.
I want to fade Harden and Irving out makes it harder. Yeah, it's definitely tough to do. I don't think you fade Harden in cash. I think you can get away with it in tournaments if you want to, but
don't fade Harden in cash. Don't be that person.
Yeah, don't do that. Should I not play Wood or Harden in big tourneys? I think if you're going to not play one of them, I would not play Christian Wood. That'd be my honest opinion.
Sorry, say that again?
Matt, should I not play Christian Wood or Harden in big tourneys? I think if you're fading one, I think you fade Christian Wood.
No, I agree with that.
But yeah, I think they're both tourney viable. Keep getting questions about Kyle Anderson. And
people are landing on him, huh?
Yeah, and I don't think he's in a bad spot. Obviously, against the Nets, no Kyrie, no KD, no Dinwiddie.
Yeah.
Definitely a pace up spot. A guy that started out at 4,200, now 5,100. They call him the Sloth. Plays very slow. It's like he's playing in quicksand, but very productive.
Yeah.
Matt, former Spur.
Yep.
So yeah, played really well against Atlanta. So I definitely don't hate him tonight at 5,100. I think more of a more of a tournament play for me than cash.
Absolutely.
I think there's better options around that price tag.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Jeff Green pivot in tournaments, definitely. One of those Brooklyn Nets guys is going to have to step up. If Jeff Green can actually see, 24 to 26 minutes, I definitely like him, but currently pegged at 20. So I'm a little weary on him in cash. Talked about Gobert. Gobert or Wood. Oh, boy, I think that's tougher than Gobert and it's tougher than Gobert and Collins.
200 viewers, guys. Really appreciate it, man. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, guys. I'd go Christian Wood in cash. I'd go Gobert in tournaments. Jason Lloyd said Pistons are predicting to lean towards starting Jackson. Okay. That is good to know. Okay.
Keep refreshing my lineups to see if
so
anything's
Josh
confirmed.
Jackson starts at 4,200. I do like him a lot. Jokic and Josh Jackson or Gobert and Grant? I would go Jokic and Josh Jackson, especially if Pistons are leaning towards starting him. Just landed on Deshaun Tate. God bless you, Sano. Trae Young with Harden or Harden with Anthony Davis? Oh, boy.
AD's totally up in the air right now. I can't answer any questions on that roster.
If LeBron does rest, then yeah, I love Harden with AD.
Yeah, absolutely.
Should I go Nwaba? I'm not saying it right, apparently, because Grant's in my head. Or Dylan Brooks. Please help, guys. So I'm assuming that's FanDuel. I'd go Dylan Brooks. I think he has more tournament upside.
Real quick, we just got another donation from Sean. He said, please read it. Nwaba or Dylan Brooks and Jeremy Grant or oh, you did. Sorry, I did not hear you.
Jeremy Grant or what?
Jeremy Grant or Tate in my 5,000 person tournament. Please help. That's what he says.
I'd go Dylan Brooks and I would go Grant. I don't know if you agree with that.
Sorry, it's Nwaba or Dylan. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I get the question now.
I'd go Brooks and I'd go Grant.
Yes. Yep.
Capella for GPPs? No. I wouldn't do it tonight.
No, yeah, I wouldn't.
Tate or Jackson? I'd go Josh Jackson. Nwaba or Brooks? We answered that. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Johnny. Say it again, Matt. You like Tate, right?
I just love the Rockets.
Okay. If you like Tate, that's fine. We're allowed to disagree.
The only thing, the only reason I love the Rockets is because of their minutes. Right now, they're all projected over 30, okay? No other value plays are projected over 30 minutes like they are, except for Joe Harris, okay? That's the only reason. So many minutes.
With Capella and Collins in the fold, I'm curious to get Trae Young's usage is affected. I don't think it affects Trae Young's usage. I don't think it affects it at all. Hayes or Josh Jackson? Oh boy, if Josh Jackson starts alongside Hayes, I'd still go Hayes. That's tough, but I'd go Hayes. Core four thoughts for me and you, Matt. Trae Young, Tate, Gobert, and Harris. Haley, if that's for cash, I think you need to have LeVert in there.
For cash.
I don't think you need Gobert in cash, and I honestly don't think you need Trae Young. Joe Harris is fine. I'd get LeVert in there. I'd get Harden, and I would get Christian Wood.
Do you want to just go over our cash core real quick? Do you want to just do that?
So, I do want to see what this Detroit starting lineup is. That's kind of the only thing we're waiting on. The Detroit starting lineup, and then that LeBron
is Demboye not starting? Is that the question right now?
So yes, I believe we just got word that Coach Lloyd for Detroit said that Josh Jackson's going to start. So I would assume Grant would play the 4, Jackson would play the 3, and then Killian Hayes and DeLon Wright in the backcourt. So cash for me right now, my locks are going to be LeVert, Christian Wood, James Harden. I really like Killian Hayes. I like Josh Jackson if he starts. I think Teron Prince is definitely viable at 3,100. I think he's a very good cheap option. DeLon Wright at 4,600 for Detroit, also a cheap option. I think Detroit has some really good cheap value tonight. And then Joe Harris also. Joe Harris at 4,600 is definitely great value against Memphis. Another one of our cash locks. So I guess if I had to give a 4, I would give LeVert, Wood, Harden, and Joe Harris. And then I really like that Detroit cheap value.
Literally just locked in the 4 same guys on my screen before you even said anything. So I completely agree with you there. I think Joe Harris is the safest cash lock for value tonight. $4,600. He's going to do all the shooting alongside Karis LeVert. You need both those guys in your lineup. Same thing with Wood and Harden. All the usage.
Any point guard for value and for a stud. Someone just mentioned George Hill. Don't forget, y'all. I don't mind George Hill.
No, I don't mind him
potential
either.
Tournament play. So I wouldn't hate him as a cheap option, as value in tournaments. Demboya, Muscala, or Markieff Morris. Which one? I would go. I mean, if LeBron's out, I like Markieff Morris. I also liked THT as well. But I would go Demboya there without the AD news. Excuse me, the LeBron news. Yes, we know AD is in. Thank you. We're talking about the LeBron news to see if
Game
LeBron
decision,
does sit.
yep.
Yeah. Util spot: Hayes, Dort, or Jackson. I go Killian Hayes, man. I think without Rose being there, I think he's gonna play a lot better.
I would go Jackson.
I like Jackson too. So those would be my two favorite plays out of those three. Derrick Jones Jr. or Covington. We
didn't even talk about Derrick Jones. That's funny.
Yeah, right. Very cheap option. But I still lean with Covington.
Okay. I love Derrick Jones at $4,000 as a tournament play. We didn't even talk about him, but I really do love him as well.
I like him to hit value, but I think Covington has more upside.
Okay.
Jamal Murray against Houston. It could be a breakout game. Yeah, I mean, Jamal Murray just needs to start faster. He hasn't been good in first halves.
He needs to go back to the
definitely
bubble.
More of a
second
half guy. Yeah, he was electric in the bubble. But yeah, he even had some slow starts then. So if he can be aggressive off the rip and assert himself early in the game, then yeah, I think he has some really high upside at 7,100 against Houston, especially if Houston can keep it close. Could definitely be a breakout game. So he was 8,500 against the Clippers, and now he's all the way down to 7,100. So definitely a good tournament play. One guy that I was really high on when it comes to tournaments tonight. So I definitely like that.
Real quick, I'm going to jump in. What is the general value you want to hit? I saw that question earlier in the chat. I believe it was from somebody different. You want to hit the price tag times 5. So let's just hypothetically say Terry and Prince, $3,100. You want them to hit about 16 points to hit value. 5 times value is what we're looking for. That's when the little symbol turns to a fire. Once they hit, I think 6 times value, right?
6 times.
6 times,
value,
right?
Yep.
So you want them to hit at least 5 to 6 times value.
Excuse me, needed some water.
Yep.
5 times value is like the bare minimum you're really looking for, but anything over 6 times is what you're hoping for.
You're taking down GPPs.
What else do we have? Bogdy or Demboya? Man. Again, I need to see the starting lineup.
I mean, either way, even if they don't start, guys, they're still playing heavy minutes at near minimum value. I love all the Detroit Pistons as well. So don't let the starting lineup scare you away from some of those plays.
Mikhailuk as a tournament play, definitely 3,600. A guy that I'm gonna have tournament shares. Yeah, Svi. Hayes or Wright. I feel like we keep getting this question. I like Killian Hayes. Matt likes DeLon Wright. We like them both.
Yeah.
I need the Pistons news. You got that right, so no.
Are you getting tired, TJ, or do you want to keep answering some questions? Do you want to go ahead and end this?
I mean, my jaw hurts.
I feel like we're getting repeat questions at this point.
I've just been staring at my screen. Yeah, I think we're getting some repeat questions. Brooks or Baisley? I like Dillon Brooks tonight.
Okay, I like him as well.
Yeah, I'd like to go make my lineups. And guys, for those of you who aren't Patreon members, please sign up. Only $20 for the month. Get you an invite to our Discord channel, which is huge, our Discord chat. And I mean, we're about to get off the live stream now without that Detroit Pistons news. So, for those of you Patreon members, you can catch us in the Discord once we get that breaking news to see who the actual starting 5 are. We'll be in there for the LeBron James news if he does sit or if he's in, what you want to do with that Lakers. $20, get you that Discord invite, get you access to all of our sports. Definitely something you guys want to consider to sign up for. Allows you to talk to me and Matt more personally as well. So you can definitely find us there.
And it's great for after the lock too, because again, yesterday when the 76ers, when they ruled out somebody, guys, I was in there. I was
the
aggressive.
First thing we did was Tobias Harris.
I was like, hey, guys, get in there, switch your guys out, switch for Tobias Harris, get him in your lineup right now. 42 points, boom. hit value and then some. So definitely love the benefits that come with that, guys, and I love talking to you guys all day, every day. So let's go ahead and end on that note, guys. Thank you so much for all your support. Over 200 members, 201 I believe is what we hit. So again, appreciate all the support. Plus 83 new subscribers today, probably even more after we get off. Really do appreciate it, guys. With all that being said, have a great rest of your night, and let's cash.
Have a good night, guys.